The house felt unusually quiet that afternoon. Emily walked down the hallway, noticing how still everything seemed. The usual hum of daily life, the faint sound of the washing machine, Jack's music drifting from his room, was gone. She paused outside his bedroom door, a sinking feeling settling in her chest. Something was wrong. She knocked gently. "Jack," she called softly. No answer, only silence. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. Jack sat on the edge of his bed, hunched forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. His shoulders were tense, and his usual energy was nowhere in sight. The room was dim, the curtains half closed, letting in just enough light to see the shadows on the floor. Emily's heart tightened. She moved closer and sat beside him on the bed, careful not to startle him. "Hey, what's going on?" she asked quietly. He didn't look at her, and for a moment she felt the heaviness of the silence between them. Then, in a low, broken voice, he whispered, "She's gone." Emily's stomach sank. "Who?" she asked, though she already had a feeling. "Lily. She just left. She's not coming back." His voice trembled, and he finally met her eyes for a brief second, only to look away again. Emily's heart ached. She had seen heartbreak before, but this was different. This wasn't a simple disappointment. This was the kind of pain that made someone feel small and lost. She placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "I know it hurts, Jack. I know it feels like everything is falling apart right now, but I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." He shook his head, tears forming in his eyes. "I don't understand. Everything was fine yesterday. We were fine. We laughed, we made plans, and now she's gone. Just like that." Emily swallowed the lump in her throat. She had no magic words to make it better. No sudden solution that could erase the hurt. Sometimes pain had to be felt fully before it could fade. She let him sit there, her presence enough to give him a small anchor. She wrapped her arm around him, and after a few minutes he leaned into her slightly, allowing the first trace of relief in the form of human touch to reach him. "I just don't get it," he murmured. I thought we were serious. I thought she cared." His voice cracked, and Emily's heart ached to see him like this. "I know, sweetheart. I know it feels impossible to understand," she said softly. "Love can be confusing. People can care deeply, and still, for reasons we may never understand, things don't work out." Jack pulled his knees closer to his chest and buried his face in his hands. Emily didn't speak. She didn't rush him. She knew sometimes words just got in the way. She let him cry silently, letting the grief pour out. After a few moments, he lifted his head slightly, his eyes red and swollen. I don't know how to move on. How do you just keep living like nothing happened?" Emily reached out and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "You don't move on immediately. You take one day at a time. 1 hour at a time if you need to. It's okay to feel sad, to miss her, to hurt. That's part of healing. And you're not alone. I'm right here." He gave a small nod, a gesture that showed he was listening, even if he didn't fully believe it yet. Emily felt a mix of relief and sadness, relief that he wasn't pushing her away. Sadness because she wished she could take his pain from him. Jack's mind wandered, replaying the last conversation he had with Lily. The laughter, the late-night texts, the way she smiled at him when he said something silly. Each memory brought warmth and sorrow at the same time. I miss her so much," he whispered, voice barely audible. "I know you do," Emily said gently. "Missing someone doesn't mean you're weak. It means you had something real. And real things leave marks. They stay with you, even when they're gone." Jack's gaze fell to the floor again, silent for a long moment. Emily could feel the storm of emotions inside him: confusion, sadness, longing, heartbreak, all swirling together in a way that only young love could create. She stayed with him, hand on his back, offering the kind of comfort that words couldn't always provide. The afternoon faded into evening. Outside, the wind moved the trees softly, and the sky began to darken. Emily whispered softly, "Jack, it's okay to feel this. It's okay to cry. I've been where you are, and it feels unbearable at first, but it will get easier. I promise it will get easier." Jack looked at her, a faint glimmer of hope in his eyes. He wasn't ready to believe her yet, but the presence of someone who cared so deeply made the room feel a little lighter. For the first time that day, he allowed himself to breathe a little easier. Emily held him a little tighter, feeling the weight of his pain, but also the quiet strength forming within him. She knew this was just the beginning of his healing, but it was a start. And sometimes, a start was all anyone needed to take the first step toward feeling whole again. As the room darkened around them, Emily whispered one final thing. "You're not alone, Jack, and I'll stay with you, as long as you need me." Jack didn't respond, but he didn't pull away. That small gesture, allowing himself to be comforted, was the first step in a journey that would lead him from heartbreak to hope. The next evening, Emily found Jack sitting on the porch, staring at the fading sunset. His legs were pulled up, arms wrapped around his knees, and his gaze seemed fixed on nothing in particular. The quiet hum of the neighborhood filled the air, distant laughter, the rustle of leaves in the wind, but inside Jack, everything felt heavy, suffocating. Emily carried 2 cups of tea and settled beside him silently, letting the warmth of the drink speak before words did. Finally, Jack broke the silence. "I can't stop thinking about her," he admitted, voice low and raw. "Everywhere I look, I see something that reminds me of her. I thought we had forever." He let out a shaky breath, the kind that carries both sorrow and disbelief. Emily handed him a cup, their fingers brushing lightly. That small touch seemed to tether him to the present, grounding him amidst the storm inside his heart. Emily took a sip of her tea before speaking. "Love can be beautiful, Jack, but it doesn't always last the way we want it to. That doesn't mean it wasn't real, or that it didn't matter." She watched him carefully, noticing the slight quiver of his lips, the tension in his shoulders. He wanted to believe her, but the pain of loss was still sharp, still fresh. He looked down at the cup in his hands, gripping it as if it could hold him together. "I don't know how to feel, or how to stop feeling." Emily nodded. "You don't need to stop. Feeling is part of healing. Cry if you need to. Be sad if you have to. Don't rush it. The pain you feel now, it's a sign that what you had meant something to you. And that's okay." Jack's eyes, red and tired, met hers for the first time that evening. "Mom, did you ever feel like this?" he asked softly, his voice cracking with vulnerability. Emily's heart ached at the raw honesty in his tone. She reached over, brushing his hair gently from his forehead. "Yes, many times," she admitted. "I felt my heart break, thought I would never get over it. Felt like the world was ending. It's confusing, painful, and sometimes it feels endless. But you do get through it. You survive it. And eventually, you'll look back and understand why it mattered, even if it ended." Jack leaned back slightly, taking in her words. The cool evening air swirled around them, carrying with it a quiet peace that seemed to settle over his restless thoughts. He thought about Lily, her laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she smiled, the small gestures that made him feel loved. Each memory cut like a knife, but Emily's calm presence made it easier to breathe through the ache. I don't know if I'll ever feel happy like that again," he said, voice barely above a whisper. It's like something's missing, and I don't know how to fix it. Emily placed her hand over his. Happiness isn't gone forever, Jack. Sometimes it hides when something ends, but it will return. It might not look the same, and it might not come from the same place, but it will come. And when it does, you'll be ready to embrace it again. Jack stayed quiet for a long moment, letting her words sink in. He traced circles on the rim of his cup with his thumb, feeling the warmth seep through his fingers. The thought of moving forward without Lily felt impossible, yet a small flicker of hope stirred inside him. You really think I can move on? He asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. I know you can, Emily said firmly, her gaze steady. It won't be instant. There will be days that are harder than others. But step by step, day by day, you'll start to feel lighter. And through it all, I'll be here. Jack's eyes softened, and for a moment, he allowed himself to lean against her shoulder. He felt a strange mix of sadness and sadness for what he had lost. Comfort in the unwavering support beside him. Emily didn't try to rush him or fill the space with words. She knew sometimes simply being present, holding someone through their sorrow, was the most powerful thing a person could do. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. Jack's thoughts drifted from the past to the present, memories of laughter with Lily mingling with the quiet evening around them. He realized that while the wound in his heart still throbbed, it was starting to soften, just a little. Emily spoke again, softly, almost like a whisper to the wind. You've loved deeply, Jack. That's something to be proud of. Not everyone opens their heart fully. Not everyone allows themselves to feel so strongly. You did, and that's brave. He let out a shaky breath and closed his eyes briefly, the weight of her words settling over him. He thought about the way life seemed so unfair, how quickly happiness could shift to heartache. Yet, in the presence of someone he truly cared, he felt a spark of hope. Perhaps heartbreak wasn't the end. It was a beginning, a painful but necessary step toward growth. An understanding Jack looked at Emily finally, his voice low but certain. Thanks, Mom. I think I needed to hear that. She smiled softly, a mixture of relief and love shining in her eyes. Always, Jack. I'll always be here. Even when the world feels heavy, even when it seems like there's no way forward, I'll stay by your side. The sky darkened into twilight, the stars beginning to peek out one by one. Jack felt a sense of calm that had been missing since Lily left. The ache in his chest was still there, but it was quieter now, softened by the warmth and presence of his mother. He realized he wasn't alone, and that realization gave him strength. For the first time in days, he allowed himself to imagine a future beyond heartbreak. A future where he could still laugh, still feel joy, still open his heart again, whenever the time was right. Emily squeezed his hand gently, a silent promise that no matter what, they would face it together. And in that quiet, starry evening, Jack felt the faint stirrings of hope begin to grow, a fragile but real belief that even after love lost, life could still hold moments of beauty and healing. The days after that evening felt different for Jack. He no longer stayed locked in his room all day, though the heaviness in his chest still lingered. Emily noticed small changes, the way he smiled faintly at a joke on TV, the way he lingered a little longer at the kitchen table, sipping his tea instead of gulping it down. She suggested a walk in the neighborhood, a simple step outside the house, and he reluctantly agreed. The first day they walked, Jack trailed behind Emily, hands shoved into his hoodie pockets, head down. The autumn wind stirred the leaves along the sidewalks, and Emily kept a soft pace beside him, careful not to rush him. Look at the trees, Jack, she said gently, pointing to the shades of gold and red fluttering in the wind. Even when leaves fall, the trees remain. Life keeps moving, just like this. Jack shrugged, still silent. I don't know if I can move forward, he murmured, eyes fixed on the ground. You can, Emily said firmly, yet softly. One step at a time. You've survived days that felt impossible already. This is just another step. As they continued walking, they passed a small park. Children played, couples strolled hand in hand, and dogs ran freely, barking happily. Jack's chest tightened as he watched the young couple laughing on a swing. The sight stirred a strange mix of longing and hope in him, a reminder of what he had lost, and what might still be possible. He turned his gaze away quickly, not ready to dwell, yet unable to fully escape the pull of emotion. Mom, he said quietly, do you think I'll ever feel happy like that again? Emily stopped and knelt beside him, holding his gaze. I promise you, Jack. You will. It won't feel exactly the same as what you had with Lily, but happiness isn't gone. It's just waiting to find you again, in its own time. Jack stayed silent, digesting her words. The cold air nipped at his cheeks, but he barely noticed. The wind seemed to carry a kind of quiet encouragement, as if the world itself was reminding him that life kept moving. And so must he. They walked in silence for a few minutes, letting the sounds of the neighborhood wash over them. Slowly, Jack's steps became less hesitant. He started noticing small things, the laughter of a child, the rustle of leaves, the soft glow of a street lamp. Emily's gentle guidance helped him realize that the world still had beauty, even when his heart felt broken. You've been through a lot, Emily said after a while. It's okay to feel fragile, but you're stronger than you think. You'll find your way back to joy. And when you do, it will be real, and it will stay. Jack nodded, a faint spark of determination flickering in his chest. I want to feel that again, he admitted quietly. I just don't know how to start. Start by noticing the small things, Emily suggested. A warm cup of tea, a walk in the park, a good laugh. Each step is part of the journey. Healing doesn't happen all at once, but with time, the pieces will fit together again. As they continued walking, Jack felt a strange sense of release. The weight of his sadness hadn't vanished, but it had softened just enough to let in a little hope. He realized that moving forward didn't mean forgetting Lily. It meant learning to live with the memory of her, while making room for new experiences. New happiness. The next few days followed a similar rhythm. Jack spent time drawing again, sketching scenes from the park, the streets, and the changing leaves. Emily noticed the subtle shift in his mood. He was still quiet at times, still pensive, but there was a glimmer of light in his eyes that hadn't been there before. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Jack spoke again. Mom, thank you for staying with me, for not giving up on me even when I felt hopeless. Emily smiled, her eyes soft. I wouldn't give up on you for anything, Jack. You're my son, and I know your heart. I know it hurts now, but I also know it will heal. And when it does, you'll be ready to embrace life fully again. Jack leaned back, breathing in the crisp evening air. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to imagine a future beyond heartbreak. He pictured moments of laughter, of connection, of happiness yet to come. It was fragile, tentative, but it was there, a small flame in the darkness. He thought about Lily, about the love they had shared, and felt a gentle gratitude rather than just pain. She had taught him to feel deeply, to open his heart, and though their story had ended, the lessons remained. Emily's words and presence had helped him begin to see that heartbreak wasn't a permanent state, it was a step on the path to growth, understanding, and eventually hope. As twilight fell, Jack turned to Emily. I think I'm starting to understand what you meant, he said softly. Life doesn't stop because someone leaves. And maybe, Someday I'll be ready to love again. Emily reached over and touched his hand, squeezing it gently. Exactly, Jack. Until then, focus on yourself, your feelings, and the little joys around you. Healing takes time, but every step forward counts. Jack nodded, feeling a quiet determination rising inside him. The ache in his chest was still there, but it was lighter, tempered by hope and the knowledge that he wasn't facing this journey alone. Emily's presence had become a safe harbor, a constant reminder that even after heartbreak, love and support could still be found. For the first time in weeks, Jack felt a sense of forward motion, not a rush. Not an immediate solution, but a gentle nudge toward life again. And as the stars began to appear above the neighborhood, he realized that even after pain, even after loss, there was still beauty, still possibility, still hope for the heart to heal and love to return. Weeks passed, and the air around Jack began to feel lighter. The ache in his chest still existed, but it no longer controlled his days. He started to re-engage with life, small steps at first, sitting outside on the porch, sketching in his notebook, even answering a text from a friend. Emily noticed the shift and quietly celebrated it. Healing wasn't instant, but it was happening, and she could see it in the way he carried himself. A little taller, a little more present. One afternoon, Emily suggested they take another walk through the park. Jack agreed, this time walking beside her instead of trailing behind. The sun was bright, the leaves a vibrant mixture of red, orange, and gold swirling with the wind. Children laughed in the distance, dogs barked, and couples strolled together. A reminder of life's quiet beauty. Jack's eyes lingered on the scene, absorbing the energy and letting it fill the emptiness he had carried for so long. "Mum," he said quietly as they walked along the winding path, "I think I'm starting to feel a little normal again." Emily smiled softly. "That's wonderful, Jack. Normal doesn't mean forgetting, though. It just means you're learning to live again." Jack glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "I still think about her. Lily, I always will, I guess. But it doesn't hurt the same way anymore." "Exactly," Emily said gently. "That pain transforms over time. It softens, and it can become gratitude for the love you shared, rather than only sadness for what ended." They found a quiet bench beneath a large oak tree and sat down. Jack pulled out his sketchbook, showing Emily the drawings he had made over the past few weeks. Trees, park benches, streets lined with leaves, the small joys he had noticed along the way. Each page was a reflection of his healing, a visual journey through his emotions, and Emily's heart swelled seeing it. "These are amazing, Jack," she said, her voice full of pride. "You've turned your feelings into something beautiful. That's a sign of strength." Jack shrugged, but there was a small smile on his lips. "I guess. It helps to put it on paper. Helps me think and breathe at the same time." Emily nodded, understanding completely. Art, words, moments outside, these are all ways to heal. They let your heart process what it's gone through, and they remind you that there's still beauty in the world. As they sat together, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows on the ground. Jack's thoughts wandered, not to the heartbreak he had felt, but to the small victories he had achieved. The walks, the sketches, the moments of laughter and quiet reflection, these were proof that he was capable of moving forward. "You know, Mum," he said after a pause, "I think I'm ready to try smiling again without feeling guilty. For a long time, it felt like if I laughed or felt happy, I was betraying what I had with Lily. But now, it feels okay to just feel." Emily reached out and took his hand. "It is okay, Jack. Feeling happiness doesn't erase love. It doesn't erase memories. It means your heart is healing, and you're open to life again. That's a brave thing." Jack looked up at the sky, painted with shades of gold and pink as the sun began to set. He felt a calmness he hadn't known in weeks. It was not the calmness of forgetting, but the calmness of understanding that heartbreak could coexist with hope, that loss could make room for growth, and that love, though sometimes fleeting, left lessons and warmth behind. I think I understand what you meant before," he said softly, turning to Emily. "Life doesn't stop because someone leaves. And maybe someday I'll be ready to love again. But until then, I can still live, and I can still feel." Emily smiled, squeezing his hand. "Exactly, Jack. And remember, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. You never know what joys or connections might come your way next." Jack closed his sketchbook and leaned back against the bench. For the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of completeness, not because the past was gone, but because he had learned to carry it with him without letting it weigh him down. He realized that moving forward didn't mean erasing memories or emotions. It meant embracing them, learning from them, and making space for new experiences as twilight descended. Jack stood and stretched, looking around at the park, the glowing streetlights and the rustling trees. Emily walked beside him, feeling the same quiet pride and relief. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was beginning to thrive, taking control of his emotions, finding joy in the small things, and preparing his heart for whatever came next. On the walk back home, Jack's smile lingered naturally. Not forced, not hiding pain, but honest and warm. He understood now that life after heartbreak could be beautiful, full of growth, hope, and love in many forms. Emily knew that while the journey wasn't over, Jack had reached a turning point, a moment where he could see clearly that the world was full of possibilities and that his heart, though once broken, was resilient and capable of feeling again. As they reached the front door, Jack paused and looked at his mother. "Thanks for never giving up on me," he said quietly. Emily hugged him gently. "I'll always be here, Jack, and you'll always find your way. Because you're strong, and you're ready to let life in again." Jack stepped inside, carrying with him not only the memories of a love lost, but also the promise of hope, the comfort of healing, and the quiet knowledge that even after heartbreak, happiness could be found again. The house felt lighter now, filled with a sense of renewal, and for the first time in a long while, Jack felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be on the path forward, guided by love, patience, and the gentle understanding that life, in all its beauty and pain, was worth embracing.